Good day and welcome to our fourth Tech Home Builder webcast. We have a really interesting topic today, very timely. As you might know, we have been talking about the 7 central benefits of the tech home. We actually just got to number 7 here in the kind of the post-COVID era, but our 7 central benefits are smart, safe, productive, entertaining, green, connected, and healthy is what we're going to focus on today. The number 7 one that we had was productive in recognition of the work from home trend. But focus today, healthy home technology. Here is our purpose for this session and our plan and presenters. So we're going to work to define a little bit more what the scope of a healthy home is, or healthy home tech, and then really dive deep on a couple of hot application areas, one being the air quality side of things, and the other being water quality with 2 clear experts in the field. I am John Galante. I'm the president of A Ventures. I'm your host for the webcast series. And I'm just doing a little introduction here, and I'll wrap up and ask some smart aleck questions along the way. First up will be Joseph Hillenmeyer with April Air, who's going to focus on the air quality side of things, and then Michael D. Ham, who is with both Pierce 365 and Refresh Smart Home, will be diving deep on the water quality and other factors. So as for my setup, for a couple months now, maybe a month and a half, we've been talking about what we see as the big 4 home tech applications that are emerging in the wake of the pandemic. Work from home, learn from home is a topic that we addressed a couple weeks ago with a webcast. Play at home is one we're going to be working on, safe at home as well. But today, the focus is on healthy home. And I want to take you to some of the underlying research, what we called our 2020 revision survey. This is from builders and multifamily operators when questioned about where they saw increases coming or decreases coming in application areas. And right after video conferencing, which we're doing right now, and the robust remotely monitored and managed network that we're all somewhat riding on from our home offices or from our office, is healthy home technology, with 15% of the builders and multifamily operators seeing a great increase in that application area, and another 38% seeing it increasing somewhat. This is the vendor side of the equation. And again, top 5 sort of positioning here for healthy home technologies. We're also asking about the workplace when we're talking to the vendors, but 30% of the vendors, they're even a little more bullish on this idea. 30% see healthy home technology applications increasing greatly, and another 35% seeing it increasing somewhat. And so I talked about the 7 central benefits when we kicked off. That's one of the tool sets that we use to kind of define the conversation or help the industry have an organized conversation. Another thing we do is we try to build out taxonomies. We have our Tech Home Builder taxonomy, which covers 6 master categories. This is a work in progress on healthy home, and I appreciate Don and Joseph both contributing some information here. So, we're very much in draft form, but I think when you have a taxonomy, you're able to scope exactly what you're talking about in the healthy home. Certainly air quality and water quality are the biggest components, and we have some, kind of granular facets of those categories outlined here in this work in progress taxonomy. There's other categories, and we'll touch on some of that as we get to the end of the session. But work in progress here. Anyone who's on this webcast who wants to contribute some thoughts as to what the major application and product categories are, or subcategories are within Healthy Home. I think that'll be helpful to us having an organized and efficient conversation as this very much in demand concept starts to take more defined shape in the marketplace. And with that, I actually want to turn it over to Joseph to give us a little bit of a deep dive here on the air quality side of things. And I asked them to give us kind of a state of the market look at where things stand with air quality, especially in the built-in environment, and then to speak to the changes that COVID is percolating up out of the marketplace. So, Joseph, take it away and get us smart on air quality, okay?
All right, thank you, John. I'm Joseph Hillenmeyer. I'm the channel marketing manager with April Air. We're an indoor air quality company. We sell healthy air solutions through both the HVAC channel as well as the new construction channel. We've been in business for close to 80 years under Research Products Corporation, but April Air is the main healthy air brand. We started out in humidification, but we now offer a full suite of products. And if you saw John's taxonomy, that would include air purity, humidification, and controls as well. So with that, I thought I might kind of start with I could go a little bit more in depth on that taxonomy and explain just some of the differences real quick. Air purity is going to be what most of us would think as filtration. That's removing particles out of the air that are already in the home. Ventilation is the fresh air that we're bringing into the home. Humidity control is either removing moisture or it's adding moisture with a humidifier. And then control, to the system integrators on here, you would know that as a home automation system. To HVAC guys, it's typically a thermostat. To builders, it might be somewhere in between or a mix of both. They all play a role in why Healthy Home has really come to the forefront, and that's what I'd like to talk about right now. So, John, I'm going to bring my screen up real quick.
Please do.
All right, so what are the drivers of healthy air and IAQ? And I kind of want to go back a little bit to talk about certainly why I believe they've become as important as they are now, as popular as they are now, why we're hearing about them everywhere. I think it pulls in a couple different arenas that everyone on this call would be interested in. Then I'll talk about the impact of COVID on it, and then how you can start delivering some of these solutions. So I think energy efficiency was the first kind of trend that really kind of opened us up to Healthy Home. It helped the industry learn how to sell something that we can't see. Builders have done an excellent job of that. The building industry in a whole. I mean, you take the HERS rating and Energy Star, and we just got really good at taking this thing that wasn't countertops and wasn't cabinets. We got to look under the hood, so to speak. We were selling something under the hood, showing people the way the house functions. The one thing you can see with it, of course, is there is a payback with energy efficiency. We've done a good job of positioning these products down the line will save you X amount of money, which is equal to reducing your mortgage by this amount. So there was definitely a payback benefit there that you could get to that was very obvious. That's kind of the indirect way that energy efficiency started to drive Healthy Home. The more direct way is we just tightened up the homes. In an effort to reach these increasing energy goals, homes kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. We're practically standardizing on ACHs of 2 and below. So, I mean, homes are just incredibly efficient now, incredibly tight, regardless of whether you're talking about a production builder or a luxury builder. There's still a large range, but by and large, our homes are getting to the point where IAQ is becoming more of an issue. Because of that, code began to recognize the importance mainly of ventilation. For the most part, that's what was driven from an IAQ standpoint as a result of energy efficiency. So that's kind of part one. Part two, I think smart home helped pave the way in a huge way. For one thing, smart home technology has connected us to the mechanical systems and the home buyer to a mechanical system in a way that they're more comfortable with and that they haven't been before, as opposed to just going to a thermostat on the wall when you feel like changing the temperature, or just walking by this equipment when it's down, when you go down in the basement, or if you're up in the attic for some reason. Where now, if it's on your mobile device and you're receiving alerts and you have some drivability and the ability to control it, you're seeing these attributes, IAQ and HVAC, all the time. And HVAC itself, a lot of awareness was raised as we entered this sort of, IoT with smart thermostats. April Air, of course, has some with IAQ Control, Nest. I mean, all those products really brought HVAC sort of to the forefront of IoT and as something that people wanted to control through smart home technology. And then last, certainly not least, and probably most obvious, is just that health and wellness in general has become a huge industry. People want to control their health. They want control over it. They want to control it with tech. Wearable technology has taken off. People are just much more in tune with their health and what they can do about it. They're taking a much more proactive approach. And that's an approach that typically starts on the personal level and it starts at home. So it's not necessarily about making more doctor appointments, but it's about monitoring and being proactive about your health in your own space. And, within the industry, we've seen energy and tech focused organizations kind of move towards health and wellness. For those of you that have attended EBA or ResNet or IBS, you've seen that the past couple of years. There's more and more tracks about health and wellness. And these are ad organizations that traditionally specialized on energy efficiency. So we're just seeing it bubble up both on the industry side and the consumer side. So where are we right now? Well, when you add in COVID-19, we are absolutely in the thick of it. I don't think the demand for healthy home is ever going to get bigger than it is right now. The technology is here. The need's been here, but it's more obvious. The understanding is here by manufacturers, builders, and consumers, and the urgency has arrived. You've got almost everyone at home is an armchair epidemiologist. They know so much about virus transmission and, does it come through the air and what's, N95 and the different filtration types, the benefits of a mask and breathing in and breathing out. So it's gotten to a point where it's on everybody's mind, and so it's sort of we can strike while the iron is hot by offering these solutions, because now within the home you can really make a difference in somebody's health with the typical things that we always had, asthma and allergy, but now we're seeing the shift more towards virus control, at least in the current, and I think that'll probably continue as we go on. So these solutions have always been there, but different parts of them have been highlighted at different times. IAQ products do help with energy efficiency. There are smart technologies within IAQ. Health and wellness has always been there, but now COVID-19 has kind of helped tie all this together and made it something that probably just about all of your home buyers are going to ask about to some extent. So I don't want to make any generalities here about the individual segments, so to speak, but traditionally, as far as engaging with IAQ, the luxury home market, as with most technology, they have a little bit easier time introducing it to their consumers because they're not quite as hung up on price. Typically these are going to be custom homes, fully custom homes, so there's more of a chance to talk about it. You can spend much more time talking about it, the benefits. They may even bring it up and then you're just including it. There's also a larger need for some of the other aspects of IAQ, which as I get into those a little bit more detail, but humidity control is important as it is to health. It's also important to protecting wood floors and accents, musical instruments. So as you get in these higher end homes and people have assets that they want to protect, there's been that part of it that's been there for a long time, controlling moisture in the air and in the home. Semi-custom, similarly, I think you're going to see, they're a little more comfortable selling those upgrades. They might be a regional builder or a smaller builder. They have a differentiator. They're not quite as cost driven. So they're able to deliver this. Thrive Home in Denver is a great example that comes to mind for me. They've done a great job of taking the message, standardizing on healthy home products, and just really making that a part of the home that they sell. Really bringing what's in the mechanicals kind of to the forefront of the home. Production builders, this group's going to vary the most as far as what products they use. Ventilation is going to be your most common IAQ product simply because it's driven by code in most areas. Exactly what ventilation solution they have will also be driven by code, but that could be driven by energy goals as well as any other health benefits they want to claim. High efficiency air cleaners are getting much more popular in the production home building market. I'll talk about that a little bit. Smart controls obviously are almost standard now in many production homes, certainly as you get to the more mid-grade price points. And energy efficient ventilation solutions, as I said, would be coming in to meet those energy goals. So whether that's an ERV or an intelligent supply solution, you've got that end of it as well. Multifamily, this is probably where I'm least versed. Michael, I know that you've talked a lot about health and wellness in the multifamily arena, so maybe you could probably add to this when you're up. But from a ventilation standpoint, they do require slightly different equipment. There's continuous ventilation, so there's a different mix of products. for the most part, anything that's available in these other segments, multifamily can obtain. There are some obstacles in that in a multifamily situation, you may be installing in a smaller mechanical closet or some type of fur down or chase. But the good thing is, like all technology, IAQ technology it's getting smaller, it's getting more streamlined, and there's just ever growing applications for this. Just this year, April Air came out with a return filter grill. So we now have our media on return grills, which is more common in multifamily applications. So as we go on and as these become more standard, you'll start to see growing applications where these can be applied in multifamily production, semi-luxury. So what are these solutions? As we went through the taxonomy, some of the particular products that come to mind are obviously ventilation, and that's the replacing of stale air with fresh air. Dehumidifier is the removal of excess moisture. Air purity is removing particulate in the air, particularly PM 2.5, which is a specific.
Hey, Joseph, for those of us who don't live in the air world all the time, we all breathe air all the time, but stale versus fresh, is that basically about carbon dioxide versus oxygen content, or what is it?
That's probably kind of the least defined. I think it's really all of them. I mean, it's VOC, so that might be carbon dioxide, it might be formaldehyde, off-gassing from different building materials. To some extent, it's radon, although that's typically mitigated very specifically with radon solutions. But really, anything that builds up in the home as a consequence of living in it would kind of be stale air. So if you want to separate air purifiers from ventilation, I think the easiest way is to say air purification is more of the particulate matter. So the pollen, virus particles per se, whereas ventilation is going to handle with more of the gaseous type stuff.
And what does stale air do to my body and my brain? Does it make me duller? Does it make me more lethargic? Does it sap my energy for life? What's the physiological effect on me?
It does all of those things, depending on obviously what the chemical is that's building up. I mean, it can be as hazardous as increasing your chances of, cancer and cardiac disease and respiratory disease. I think just stale air in general, if you're just talking about, a house that's not real refreshed, you're certainly going to notice a large increase in odors. You're going to have more mold from humidity issues. Because we create a lot of water as we live in our house in the day, as we add a lot of moisture to the air through showers and cooking.
Yeah. John, I remember seeing many years ago a study about temperature in the office, and I think it's the hotter it gets, the lower the productivity is in the office, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's why Ebenezer Scrooge kept it cold, for Bob Cratchit.
Yeah.
Want to get more out of them. But I'm betting that there's a productivity factor around stale air versus fresh air too. And with the idea of more work from home, these are, these workplace air standards actually are starting to apply to the home as well now, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you, the sick home building syndrome that started in the 1970s, at first it was kind of a conundrum. It was blamed on different things. For a while, as ignorant as this is, they thought, well, there's just more women in the workforce now, so there's more people going home sick. That, of course, wasn't it. What it actually was we were cramming so many more people in the office, and we had this terrible air. And when that came about, that's why commercial ventilation codes have often outpaced residential ones. They supply continuous ventilation. We've learned that air quality just got really poor when we started adding more people to the office. It wasn't individuals per se. It was just that they were working in bad conditions. You had more copiers and things like that were throwing off different VOCs and gases. So yeah, I mean, it's been real interesting. And sick building syndrome is now pretty well recognized within residential construction.
And I don't even think you tackled noise pollution, but before we started this webcast, I had to go turn my HVAC office off so that I didn't have the rumble of the HVAC while I did video conferencing. What sort of effects going to start to take place in the home as well? We're going to want that quiet HVAC as well, not just for like home theater critical listening, which has been a design form factor out there for years, but just for work from home too. Don,
Yeah.
Michael, you
So,
got a contribution?
John, the question you had, does it affect cognitive abilities? So, study just came out last week that's why monitoring is so important. CO2 levels, when they start creeping over 550 ppm, it's research is showing that it's starting to affect cognitive abilities. So this is really relevant. I mean, for the home, because we're staying in our homes more, but obviously in public settings like school settings and work settings. And so the biggest expense for an employee is their staff, right? And so you want to be aware of these things so you don't impact productivity in a negative sense. And since more and more people are working from home, it's really important to get those CO2 levels low through ventilation, like Joseph said.
Yeah. Get back on track, Joseph. I'm sorry I threw you off track.
No, I love the questions, and thank you, Michael, for putting some data behind that. A little bit more data also on PM 2.5 is something you'll encounter when you hear a lot about air purity. That's particulate matter 2.5. There's a lot of different, I don't want to get in too much to the details of that on here, but I think after humidification, we've gotten really good at measuring the amount of particulate and the size of particulate that's dangerous to the body. And for that reason, you've seen IAQ manufacturers as well as government organizations kind of set these parameters on, what particulate is the most dangerous. Viruses obviously are dangerous regardless of their size, and they come in all different sizes. Some viruses are, might be a half a micron, where some are a hundredth of a micron. It just, it depends. They come in very different sizes. But we do know that these smaller particles that get down, that embed themselves into your lungs, particularly things from cook smoke or fireplaces, a lot of the stuff that comes from outside air that builds up inside, and air purification is how you begin to remove those types of actual particulates. The other two things I'll go through real quick. Control, at April Air for us, that's control of all IAQ through smart solutions. So, we have compatibility with Alexa and all of that, but we also have all IAQ on there. So humidification, air purity, ventilation, and there's a lot of control companies out there that have that as well. So in addition to controlling temperature through whatever automation app they choose to be using, they're actually controlling all elements of IAQ. So, as you open up that home automation system now, you're getting more and more drivability of more of the things in your home. And as I mentioned, adding moisture to the air, humidification, it's kind of a touch and go one in RNC. It's, in luxury homes, the need is understood, as I said, and it's more out there in production homes. Sometimes there's people who, for the wrong reasons, are a little afraid of adding moisture to the home. But in actuality, you talked about the productivity based on comfort. Humidification has a huge impact on comfort. If you have overly moist air and it's cool, then you've got cold and clammy conditions that are extremely uncomfortable. If you've got cold, dry air, that leads to bloody noses. And I'll also talk a little bit more about that from a virus standpoint. So, really, the takeaway here is that IAQ is not really, it's not going to be solved completely with one product, because it's a lot of different problems that occur for different reasons, and they need to be mitigated in different ways. And that doesn't just go for the products that you need, but that will change based on where in the country you are, what type of a home you build, etc. So John, I wanted to touch a little bit on how COVID is changing this. Certainly from a demand standpoint, it couldn't do more as far as educating the consumer. As I said, people are thinking more about the air in their home than ever before. From an HVAC standpoint, ASHRAE, which is the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers, they've come out with a recommendation that the HVAC world can recommend to people to help reduce the proliferation of airborne viruses. This isn't COVID specific, it's just viruses in general. The things you can do to reduce the virus load in the house would be, the addition of fresh air ventilation. Obviously, the solution to pollution is dilution. We've probably all heard before. Air filtration, as I mentioned, that's actually trapping those particles and holding them until they're no longer dangerous. And then you change the filter and a new one goes in. And then humidity control. Humidity control is extremely important. If everyone remembers when COVID first started, the question was, hey, when we get to warmer, more humid summers, is that going to impact the infectivity of this virus? I'm not sure they've made an exact call on that yet, but for the most part, the infectivity of a virus does go down when there's more humid, because it can't hang, more humidity, it can't hang in the air as long as it falls to the ground a little bit quicker. So when you put these three things together, we really have a way in the home to finally address viruses. I think how COVID's changed it is this has kind of always been there, But when it came to IAQ, people were talking about asthma and allergies. They weren't really thinking about viruses. So it was more specific, sort of a symptomatic thing. People that had respiratory issues had an interest here. Whereas this makes it a little bit more holistic as far as the population. This is something that everybody can relate to. This virus affects everyone. So as far as, what IAQ standards are in place, beyond just the recommendation of HVAC companies, I think, you have a lot of great organizations out there. You've got, Indoor Air Plus dictates some things. Net Zero has some qualifications.
Let me just take you back to the virus piece. I mean, are you aware of any builders or multifamily companies out there who are specifically tackling virus reduction with their air systems and promoting that as a feature to differentiate in the market, or on their way to doing so?
I can't say I know of any just yet. I think the comfort level to do that might take a little bit longer to get to. Again, there's a difference between saying that you can remove, asthma and allergies triggers versus that. There's more liability with saying you can prevent a virus, and we're certainly not saying that. The fact is, virus-sized particles are trapped by these products. So I think they'll get there. I think it's an add-on. This doesn't. COVID doesn't make IAQ more important. It just makes it a little more relative right now. So, it's not like before this virus, these things weren't needed. This is just kind of what's brought the idea of IAQ into the consumer's mindset. So as a builder, I might be looking at COVID more as this is why the home buyer is now thinking more about healthy air, and I'll want to address that.
Yeah. So the technology is here. The applications are pretty straightforward. The marketing and message strategy around it needs to be finessed a little bit. And are you guys developing tool sets or working to provide talking points where a builder isn't overstepping what they're promoting and they don't look like they're exploiting the situation, but that they're addressing a need? You're the channel marketing manager. That's your job, man, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of tools that explain it. What we give to the builder are tools that allow them to explain it correctly to the homeowner. And not overstepping the bounds is a huge thing. I mean, there are companies out there that, have done maybe some sort of, self-certifying but with the claims, we've just said, okay, LBNL says this, if you do this to the air, our products do X to the air. We want them to say that they have products in the house that can reduce risk. You can't necessarily make a guarantee of a healthier home, because a lot of what happens in the home is based on what people living in the house do. You can, if you offer a healthier system, make a guarantee that your home is healthier than a competitive builder who is not doing these things. There's no question that introducing fresh air makes the home healthier.
Yeah.
That mitigating humidity is the right thing to do to protect the home and protect health. Certainly a larger air purifier is going to be more, there's ratings on air purifiers. If you're offering a MERV 13 or a MERV 16, you're absolutely removing more particulate from the air than someone that is on a standard 1-inch filter.
Yeah.
I think as far
so when I get to the standard thing, I'm actually, the question that I posed to you, I'm not so much interested in what does ASHRAE say or any standards organization. It's really about what should the builder be offering standard, right? This is one of the things that we've been tracking really closely is in the whole, across the broad technology spectrum, how is the builder making a choice to have a standard set of features that really differentiate from a technology perspective that can feed their overall marketing messages? Here, this is something different and better than a resale home, especially because that's our biggest competitor. And then, maybe other builders as well. So the question isn't whose standards should you adopt because the standard organization said, here's the standard. The question is, what's the right thing for their customer base? How do they get to the right offer for their customer base? Should that luxury builder, should they have a certain set of air quality features that are high level that are kind of assumed, in the construction of the luxury home. And then as we step down to these other sections of the market, what really should be standarded? Because healthy is has risen to such an extent that some healthy home features really should be part of the standard, not just smart home security.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I would even say I'd move from the bottom up, no matter where you are, whether from a production builder on maybe a low range production home all the way up to luxury. Air cleaner and ventilation are absolutely essential. They're easy to offer. They're not terribly price prohibitive. ERVs can get expensive, but there's supply solutions that would go far beyond the code-driven solution that somebody else might be doing. So if you wanted to differentiate with those two products and provide something with the most meaningful difference to your home buyer, ventilation and air cleaning should be standard, I think, in every home.
What kind of percentage penetration do we have for those categories in new construction right now? Are we single digit penetration for something like an air cleaner, or 20, or what?
For an air cleaner, it would certainly be higher than that. You're probably around 25%, maybe even much larger than that, depending on your definition of an air cleaner. And I just say that, and that there's a wide range of things that go beyond 1 inch, from MERV 8 all the way to MERV 16. On the really high performance end, MERV 16, you probably are down more in the single digits. With ventilation, it's going to be much larger just because it's code driven. But code in many areas just means having a bath fan. So ERVs are kind of the product we hear the most about, but those are in the single digits as far as
I think this discussion's highlighting for me is when we talk about standard at Tech Home Builder, we're usually saying what is the standard feature set? And I think that there's the risk of confusion in categories like yours to go to code. That's not what it's about. It's not about meeting code. It's about really what's the standard for your buying demographic. And it seems like if I'm building a luxury custom home, I should be doing MERV 16, right? I mean, if money's no object, shouldn't I have the highest level of air cleaning possible?
Yeah, I mean, if money's no object, you should have a steam humidifier and a dehumidifier. Every home should have air purification and ventilation because they're required to have. In today's tighter homes, which all homes are tighter than they've ever been before, you need those two products to create a healthy environment. I think, after that, it does get a little geographic. So as I said before, I don't think, from an application standpoint, this is a little bit different for everyone. Healthy home is not a one size fits all. If you're building a home in Florida, in a coastal area, that you absolutely need to standardize on dehumidification, especially if you have a very tightly sealed spray foam home. You can't not do it. If you're not mitigating that humidity when you bring it in while you're ventilating, or not recirculating the air and pulling it out, then you're not doing what you should do for your homeowners. It's just far too much humidity in the air. If you go up north to a cold northern climate, same thing. You've got to mitigate that dry air in the winter when you're heating it and bringing that RH level way down.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We're at kind of your limit of time, Joseph. I think we need to give water nearly equal time to air because we can't live without either one of them.
We need both. Yep.
This has been an interesting discussion, and now you've got a lot of assignments to help your builders on the marketing of this stuff and help them understand really what that standard package should be, that it's not a code-driven thing, it's a demographic and performance-driven thing.
And it's also not an upgrade thing. You don't want to sell health as an upgrade. That needs to be standard. So
yeah, and that's what we've positioned standard versus options as a merchandising decision, right? And if you don't pick the right standard, you don't get to the right options being sold. In the home tech space, for years we defaulted to infrastructure, structured wiring panel, and a few runs, and it's it's ready for technology. And that is not the right way to go with a standard for a builder today, when there's so many active benefits and conveniences that can be offered affordably with a smart home system. You want to give them a taste of those convenience features. I think the same sort of thing in this healthy home. There has to be a base so that you can sell the options as well. And you've taken us on a good tour. So Don, or Michael, Don, Michael Don Ham. He goes by either first name. But Michael, take us on the the water quality tour.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I think there's a lot of parallels with water quality and air quality. Air quality is a few steps ahead in terms of its integration with IoT technology. And so I think it's more primed to get scale faster with builders. What I wanted to say to our builder listeners, healthy home is at a point where it's never been before because of what's happened the last couple of months. And so the best thing you can do is to differentiate your health story. What are you actually presenting to home buyers as a value proposition? So I want to kind of go through what you, segue off of what we just ended off here, John. But I do believe that the best thing is to do what the car industry has, like a good, better, best model. Make good the standard, make it affordable for everybody, production homes, but then you have the better and the best options for people to upgrade to, whether it's a production home, obviously luxury home market, you're going to tend to veer towards the top solution and clients are going to demand that. But I'm sure everyone agrees here, we want every single home in America and the world to be healthy. And a lot of it starts with education. People just, because air is invisible, because the water you drink from the tap, you don't see what's in it. It's invisible. It's just out of sight, out of mind. But the great thing about modern technology is now it's bringing insight into the state of your air, the state of your water. So I just wanted to start off by saying that it's really important for builders to set up their health story and how they present that to their future clients and home buyers. So as you can see from this this chart here, kind of building off of what you presented, John, this is from last month, a survey was done. How will coronavirus change the housing sector? Overwhelmingly, health and wellness and IAQ specifically top the chart, right? So this is not going away. It's going to continue. So it's really about, and there's a lot of noise too. Like we heard from Joseph, a lot of people are making claims, and you got to have robust third-party data backing up your claims, or else you're going to be in trouble. And home builders should be aware of that. You have to make sure that you can stand by what you're presenting. So this is a study from Harvard's Joint Center of Housing Studies last year, pre-COVID, but overwhelmingly IAQ and water quality have always been at the top of people's concerns, which is why I think we're tackling these two issues here. So water quality, a lot of people, just in the same way that IAQ was the #1 health risk by the WHO, health risk, causing almost 10 million premature deaths, indoor and outdoor pollution related. We are also in a water crisis, and most people don't know about it. So I want to touch on a few things that'll get people to understand how serious our water quality is. Okay, just a few things here. Over a lifetime of exposure to carcinogenic contaminants in drinking tap water, we would expect 100,000 cancer cases in the US. That's from a study last year. 8 million tons of plastics enter our oceans on top of 150 tons that already circulate, impacting close to 700 ocean species. An equivalent of 1 dump truck is going into the oceans every day, every hour. It's staggering. One more here. The blood of nearly all Americans is contaminated with PFAS, which is nicknamed forever chemicals. I'll go into a little more detail later. But we are in a serious water quality crisis, and it's something that most people don't know about. So why is it dangerous to just drink water from the tap? You have all of these contaminants in it, and you can see the list here: microplastics, chemicals, pharmaceuticals. I guarantee, John, Joseph, if you had a cup of water there and I said I had a little packet here of microplastics, chemicals, and I just poured it into your water and I said, give you $100 to drink that, would you drink it? Probably not, right? But the reason why people drink it is because they have no idea, right? And so we're here to educate people. So this is kind of hard to see, but this was a study done last year, and it shows the number of PFAS, the forever chemicals, and the EPA sets the limit at 70 ppt. I wonder why. And the environmental working group, very, very like third party, very non-biased. They strictly study and they present the facts. They set the limit at 1 ppt as being a limit. If you go over, it's going to affect your health. And the reason why they're called forever chemicals is when they're in the environment and they go into your blood and the organs, they don't disappear. So the more that accumulates in your body, the more you're going to be affected by it. But as you can see here, pretty much every single major municipality in the US is affected by PFAS. These are things from flame retardant materials, like jet fuels, all these things falling on the ground, going into our water table. So this is a serious issue with water. Study by the Global Wellness Institute last year showed that people are starting to catch on about the air quality and water quality. And because of that, they're willing to pay a premium of 10 to 55% more over comparable regional properties. It's really important for builders to take a look at these studies. But it comes down to, like I said in the beginning, what health story are you conveying to your potential home buyers? That is really the key here. So another thing, we talked about tap water. Let's go to bottled water. The reason why people don't drink tap water is because they know it's not good for you. So what do? They buy bottled water. But now recent studies are showing that out of 259 bottles that were tested, 93% were found to have microplastics in them. I'll pose the same question to you, Joe and John. If I had a little teaspoon of microplastics and I offered you $50 and I put it in your water, would you drink it? No, there's no price on health, as we know.
I certainly wouldn't want to have to pay extra for it.
Maybe if that dollar went up, yeah, that would change. But what I'm trying to illustrate is that people, if they know that something is going to harm them, they're going to think twice, right? And so obviously with bottled water, there's different degrees of the percentage of microplastics. Some have, so I researched the study very carefully. And when I go out and I have a bottled water, I know exactly which ones to choose, right? To minimize the impact. But the point I'm trying to get across is there's a lot of things that we consume and we just don't know it's harming us. It's time now with COVID, more people are cognizant of these things and they're going to start looking at it. So as a builder, what are you going to do to resonate with the home buyer that is thinking about these things? So there's many different types of water filtration. And I can tell you luxury, even all the way up to luxury, it's probably still single digits, John, but they are implementing water softeners. If you look at this diagram, a lot of builders are putting in microfilters. So, you know, the big blue filters that have like 1 micron filtration, or even particle filtration at a 5 micron or even a 20 micron. These get rid of the big particles like hair, blood cells, sand, pollen. But what happens is these dangerous things like viruses, proteins, nanoplastics, they get passed through. So if you step it up and you go to ultrafiltration, you'll get those things, but then pharmaceuticals will pass through, dyes will pass through. So really the good, better, best model, it's a case in point here. The good model is microfiltration, things that are being installed in homes now. But you got to be able to offer better and best. You got to be able to go to ultrafiltration, nanofiltration, and the best and the gold standard is really reverse osmosis. You want to be able to present reverse osmosis, not only point of use, but whole house systems where the homeowner can have peace of mind knowing that everything from the shower they take to the laundry, the washer, the water being used in the washer, hot water heaters, dishwashers, are all filtering down to the highest level. That's the health story you want to be able to provide.
Hey, Michael.
Yep.
The filtration for an average water dispenser integrated in a refrigerator, what level would that be at?
Oh, that's going to be at the particle filtration level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of homeowners are going to assume that that's adequate filtration, right? Because it's the
Right.
only filtration they know. They have to replace that
Exactly.
filter.
Exactly.
So,
And Joseph, it's the same thing with air filtration. Most people just think their system that they bought the home with is going to do the job to the highest level. But it's really about us educating people on the different levels. And there's no judgment. If you can only afford particle filtration, then that's what you have to go with because it's better than having no filtration. And then as you move up the good, better, best model, you can actually, the people who can afford it, great, you can actually filter to the highest levels. But
Yeah,
the
and Michael, something else I wanted to add where I see a huge parallel, I think, between water and air is, there's kind of a known understanding of the portable devices that are available, but not so much the whole home solutions that not only offer uh, better quality of filtration, be it water or air, but are also more maintenance free, more carefree. I mean, we know that there's pitchers you can fill with a filter in them that will give you better than the water that you had at the tap. But why go through that when you can just have something whole home that's going to deliver it all the time to every appliance at home?
That is a great point. And so whenever we talk about whole house air filtration, the biggest impact is a whole house air filtration as close to MERV 16 as possible. Because of the amount of air when your HVAC system is moving, you're looking at 2000 CFMs even, you're going to get rapid filtration of the ambient air. And the standalone units are just to supplement it. So that's a really great point, Joe. And when we talk about it to people as well, we always recommend first choice is a whole house system, and then you supplement it with standalones in the areas that you spend the most time. Okay, so this is just an idea of the different types of filtration systems out there. These are all RO systems, so you're filtering at the highest level. You have your base level, and it's a point of use. You put it on your kitchen sink with a tank. It produces up to 50 gallons per day. So it could be enough. For some people, it could not be enough. For me, I use more than this. You move up a step, and it's a point of use without a tank, a safe space. There's a pump in the system, which makes it so you don't need a tank, and you get almost 1,000 gallons per day production, and that suits most people's needs. And then you go with a whole house system, you put on your main water line, and you're getting over 1,800 gallons per day. So this is more than sufficient for people who want to have better than bottled water quality at every single tap in their house.
and what kind of costs are we looking at there?
So this kind of cost, the retail on this is like $1,000 for the unit. The middle one is about $2,500. And if you want a whole house system, just this, you have all your softeners and all your other water treatment, and you want to add RO for your whole house, this is $5,000 retail. But if you have nothing in your house, what we usually do is we get a water test. We test 29 parameters, and we customize a full water system for the house itself and where it's located. Like Joe says, air and the water are the same. Every region is different. So you got to get the water test, study it, and then customize it for that house. A whole house system typically starts from about 15K, goes all the way past about 35K. Some houses are like 70,000 square feet, then they go beyond. But usually around the 15 to 35K mark, you can have a whole house RO system. Now, I just want to say to builders, there's a big difference between a whole house basic filtration system and a whole house RO system. There are not a lot of whole house RO systems at this point, but we're seeing more and more being implemented.
And what about lifetime cost of ownership? Is there filter replacement component to the cost structure?
That's a great question. So there are filter replacements. You got to do it every 6 months or 3, 4 months, depends where you live. but the RO membrane, they typically last 3 to 5, over 5 years, around 5 years. So you get a lot of return on investment because when you have a system like this, you never have to buy bottled water again. So we did a price analysis with tap water costs in LA and New York, and the return on investment on this entry level one was 3 to 4 months return on investment. So even that's why we want to educate even production house homeowners and lower income families. Your return on investment is so quick, it's actually worth, even for builders, for production houses, even in lower income regions, it makes sense to put a system like this as an option.
Can I taste the difference?
A lot of people say they can taste the difference, but it also depends where you live. If you have more polluted water, you're gonna taste the difference more. But it all depends on the state of your water pre and post.
Gotcha.
So this is what a whole house system looks like. So that pro unit is the one in the middle, and then you have a pre unit and a post unit. You have a neutralizer, you have a water softener, you have a pump, and you have a tank. And so it's pretty extensive because we base it all off of your water test. And like I said, it's based off of your 29 parameter results.
And if I've got a whole home system, I'm bathing in pure water. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I love it when I take a shower because I know that it's better than bottled water quality. And most people don't know, but when you take a shower, your armpits and your face absorb close to 100% of the contaminants in the water. So if your water has lead or pharmaceuticals in it, your face and your armpits are actually absorbing all of that. So it's really important to have clean water. So if you cannot afford a whole house system like this, at least get a shower filter that's going to reduce some of those contaminants. So, I mean, I tried to keep it short on water, but, I just wanted to reiterate again, builders, now is the perfect time to set a strategy with all of your projects to make the entry level a standard, no matter what the price point on your house is, and have those better and best options.
Michael, we have a little more time. Talk a little bit more about if you can just blurb some of these categories beyond air quality and water quality.
Sure.
What you think is cool about them, why they're important, why builders should consider. Can you blurb them?
Sure, for sure. So, like the studies show, indoor air quality, water quality are at the top, but what's gaining traction in the healthy home tech category right now is circadian lighting and biophilic design. Circadian lighting is really important because our body works off of the circadian clock inside our bodies based on the sun. And so, before electric light, which I call fake light, right? The real light is the sunlight. People went to bed when it got dark and they woke up when the sun came out. They were very healthy when it came to their circadian health. Obviously, they had to deal with other types of diseases and pathogens and things like that. But they were much more healthy circadian-wise than we are today. What happens is at nighttime, around 3 hours before we go to bed, typically around 9 p.m., our body starts, because the sun goes down, our body starts to produce melatonin. And when the melatonin levels go up, it allows us to enter deep sleep. When we go into deep sleep, the neurotoxins drain, so you get less instances of dementia, Alzheimer's, when you get good sleep, 7 to 9 hours. But what's happening with today's society is we're all on the smartphone up until the time we sleep. What the blue light in the smartphone does, and not even blue light and even like purple, even yellow, up to 600 nanometers wavelength, it suppresses the melatonin. So then we cannot enter deep sleep. Then we don't get the proper rest. The neurotoxins don't drain properly. So we're always in a constant fight, our immune system fighting off. Whereas if we just got a good sleep, the natural process would build up our immune system and fight off toxins and cancer cells. So one of the things that we are really trying to focus on next is sleep quality, circadian lighting, because of its importance on health. And so I always recommend people, before all of these technologies come to the forefront, at least keep your phone out of your room. Keep it like in another room. Cut off your TV and your phone. And in the beginning, it was tough for me, but I started at 1 hour before bed and then 2 hours before bed. And I can't get past 2 hours. I try to get to 3 hours, but it's too tough for me. So, yeah.
Cool. And organic scents, I noticed on your Refresh website, this is an application area. And Joseph, I don't know whether April Air is in the organic scents business too, with the, but that's cool. And the soundscaping, and those seem like great luxe types of applications that aren't presented to the home buyer much.
Not yet. There still needs technology needs to really catch up. It's actually grown quite a bit the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But the reason for organic scents, soundscaping, all the importance of it is studies show that when we're connected with nature, when we go out for a walk, our mental health, our physiological health, they benefit from it. There's a lot of studies going on right now. So because we spend so much time in the home, we're trying to replicate some of that. And studies show that biophilia within the indoor spaces also positively impact health. So for those who can't go out as often, we want to bring the outdoors in as much as possible. And people, they light candles. They use what do you call that? Those candles are really bad. They're carcinogenic. They really affect health, the air quality in a bad way. I'm sure Joe can back me up on that. But so we want to bring in scents in the homes to replace that are actually not only not harmful, but beneficial for your health.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we got to exit because we're almost out of time. I want to thank you guys. This has been extremely informative. I am flipping through my slides here. And everybody, these guys are experts, and their companies are extremely strong and helpful to builders, definitely positioned to be partners of builders. So, if you want, I'll flip ahead to my screen here. Here's my phone and email address. If you need help getting in touch with either Michael or Joseph, I'm happy to do it. Of course, April Air has a great website, as does Refresh Smart Home and Pure 365. Those are great places to go for information. I did want to just take a second to do some cross-selling to Tech Home Builder events and media. We've been really working hard to build up our assets, guides, and research for builders on technology. So go to techhomebuilder.com and look for some of that stuff. We've got our merchandising and marketing guide, which we talked about some of those concepts here. There's sample agendas, sample outlines for you to build a merchandising report or a marketing plan. So lots of really practical tool sets in that guide, lots of interesting data points in our research. Most important in terms of somebody wanting to go deep on tech and go deep on topics like healthy home, Tech Home Builder Summits, hosted style events. So if you're a qualified high volume luxury multifamily builder, or if you're interested even on the marketing and sales solution side of things, you've got the opportunity to be hosted, where we cover travel, and we're encouraging folks to get out of their bunkers and get back into the market and join us August 10th through 12th in Orlando, Florida. We've got a great action plan in place to produce a safe event. It'll be a productive event that tackles hot applications like healthy home as well. And you want to get ahead of the curve on that. So again, if you're interested, techhomebuildersummit.com, or shoot me an email, call me on the phone. And thanks again to Joseph and Michael, and we'll see you next time.
See you in Orlando.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Nice to speak to both of you.
Thanks, Joe.